Quilty and crafty friends of all shapes and sizes. This is Janice from La Rue de Fleurs. I'd love to welcome you back into my studio today for another fun, scrappy inspiration project. I think this is a perfect one for the holidays, and the pattern is free, which we always love. So we are going to make some oven mitts just using bits and pieces that are from the scrap bucket. I love working on these scrap projects. It's going to be very similar to the Scrappy pouch. If you haven't checked that one out, we'll link it below. It's the project I did last time. But the procedure is basically the same. So it involves rooting through your scrap bin and then coming up with a story or an idea and pulling pieces that you think coordinate together to sort of like reinforce that theme idea. So you can do some, like here I have sort of French bistro, and it has a like green and blue veggies. It's got a little pheasant print, some mushrooms, a little butcher's print on it, as well as just some cool graphic prints that I felt well, and then I made a coordinating hot pad to go with it, all from scraps. The only specialty item that you need this week is Insel Bright. So that is the batting that has like fleece on the back, and then it has the like heat resistant coating. So that's what this shiny silver is. And the only thing that you need to know about this is that the heat resistant silver side needs to go out. So it would be up and right behind your patchwork layer, so that when you use the oven mitt and you reach in and you touch something hot with it, it is reflecting the heat away from your skin, okay? So that is the only specialty item that I am going to use this week. I get a couple yards at a time, and then I just make as many of the oven mitts out of it that I can. The other thing that you need is the free pattern. So I cut and I printed this out, downloaded it, printed it out, and cut it out. It's from Suzy Quilts, SuzyQuilts.com, very popular modern quilter. I'm sure you've heard of her. If you haven't, go check it out. Lots of awesome projects and ideas and inspiration. Some of it's free, and then she has lovely quilt patterns as well, and I think new like thread line and new fabric lines and all that stuff. So this is the pattern that we're going to use. It's just her oven mitt, and I'll show you a couple more inspirations, and then we will get started. It's really quick, it goes really fast. You just need this pattern. We're going to make the patchwork panel, and then you'll need some kind of coordinating fabric to line the inside of both sides of your oven mitt. Okay, so that might be the only like yardage that you would need. All right, so I'm just going to pop you a little bit closer over here and show some of the other inspirations, and just to get your creative juices flowing, and then we will create the oven mitt patchwork together. Okay, so as I mentioned, I've already made several of these because they're really, really fun. I did them for my Black Friday pop-up sale at my local art gallery, and I think they're really great idea for Christmas gifts. You could do what I did, which is create a gift basket bundle. So here you have an oven mitt, a coordinating hot pad, a towel. This is stamped by a friend of mine that does lino cut prints, a homegrown loofah gourd, and then some salt scrub, or you could do sugar scrub or granola, or like a little teacup candle, anything like that could be really cute. This is just a thrifted basket, and then a coordinating ribbon that I had, as well as some shredded paper in the bottom, and you can see that makes an awesome little gift display. So you could purchase a towel if you didn't have one that you had hand printed yourself, or you could use like a coordinating strip of fabric pieces across the bottom of a plain towel to sort of dress it up and make it all go along together. So I have that example, which is more of the orange and the brown colors. I think I was calling this like terracotta earth. That was my theme. So it was all of those like clay and organic prints, brown, and a little bit of orange, all of that with a natural theme to it. And then the coordinating, oh, it's got paper snips on it. There's the little coordinating hot pad. So I just did the same thing. So it's just patchwork, random patchwork pieces that we're going to pull out of our scrap bin and then use them, kind of come up with a story idea and then use them to expand upon that in the color choices that we make, right? So to saying, like this one's called Terracotta Earth, so it's all going to be clay color and browns and sort of that taupes and creams and all of the things that you might expect if you were like shopping for terracotta pots or earthenware. So that was the theme of that one. Like I mentioned in the intro, here is my French bistro. I think I called this one garden veggies, but I think it's very French bistro to me. It's got the vegetables, a little geometric, almost looks like plots of the garden, little pheasant and some florals, mushrooms, just some fun geometric-y swirl things, and a little butcher print. And then that's the back. Couple of florals, some vines, leaves, all of that stuff. And then here's the coordinating little hot pad. So I'm trying to repeat some of those same prints so that they coordinate, but they're not matching, right? So that's not the point of this. Again, like the zipper pouch that I spoke about earlier, it's not that they match exactly. The patchwork is not exactly the same, but you can see that they coordinate as a set because they repeat enough of the same fabrics over and over again that you get the idea that they go together. Here's another example of a different colorway. I think I'm not sure what I called this, Misty Morning or something like that. So it is all of the blues and the greens, combining a little bit of gray. So when you go out on a crisp early winter day and there's like ice coating on stuff and fog everywhere. We get a lot of fog in Pennsylvania. So that's kind of what the theme of that was. And you can see, again, it's repeating the same fabrics, but not trying to match anything perfectly. So it's just colors that look good together, in my opinion, in my mind, and tell that story of like a crisp, wintry morning. And finally, the last example is what we are going to work on today, and I was calling this one Golden Hour. So I cheated a little bit on this, because if you recognize this fabric, it's from the Ruby Star Society line Golden Hour. So that was very easy to come up with a title and a theme for this one, but you can see I leaned into then like the oranges and gold, of course. I have this amazing Maureen Cracknell art gallery print that I just absolutely adore. It's got those nice warm autumnal colors. And then there's the back with the creams and the golds and the grays and rusty reds. And then here is the coordinating oven mitt, which we are going to work on today, something very similar. It will, of course, not be the same because we're going to root through our bin of scraps and see what's left over, but I think you get the idea that they coordinate, they look like they go together, they tell the same story, they repeat some of the same fabrics, and yet they each have their own individual character, and they have the running theme of Golden Hour. So let's get started. Okay, so to get started, I have my piece of Insulbrite, and I am just going to cut out a piece that is roughly the same size that I need to cover to create my oven mitt. So that way I'm not creating a huge, enormous panel that I don't really need. You can do this however it works best for you, but I'm just going to give a little bit of space around my pattern, maybe just like 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch around each side, and I'm just going to cut out that rectangle so I know that's the amount of space that I need to cover at least with my patchwork. Okay, so I feel like that way I don't need to create any larger panel than necessary, and it also keeps my insole bright from having all of these weird shapes in it. I just think that it makes it more simple to work like that, but you can certainly do it whatever makes the most sense to your brain. So I have my oven mitt. I've already done one side, so I need to get that because obviously we need a A and a B side. So really why I'm doing this is because when I went to make the first one for my gift baskets to sell, I made two of the same side. You know, you need the reverse. So I wanted to make sure I knew which side I was going for, so I need it to be this way this time. So I'm gonna have to check again, you know, so that when I put right sides together, I have just one thumb, not thumb over here, thumb over there, right? Okay, so you can see I already got started. It's similar, but different to the other golden hour. So this is golden hour 2, I guess. And then all I did was very much like whenever we worked on the zippy pouches, Scrappy zippy pouch, is I dug down through my bin of scrap wonders, and I just found things that I liked together that told the story of golden hour. Since I've already told this one, and this is number 2, I tried to find if I had any of the same colors that I used before, and it doesn't matter if they came off of something else. We'll just get rid of that stuff. No one knows. No one has to know it's reused, or you can be really proud of it and tell them that you recycled and reused. This is the age of using up what we have and not wasting, and I think if you're a quilter, you probably really embrace that ethos far beyond just quilting. So be proud, say it out loud, encourage other people to use up their scraps of things, whether it's fabric or anything else. So I have, again, another cut of that beautiful art gallery. Here's art gallery. I like art gallery. A few solid pieces. This, I'm not sure if this was already pieced like this for some reason, or if I had done it for another oven mitt and then not used it, but I'm gonna use it now. It's got that same gold color, plus I love the dark orange, like the deep orange here. It's so pretty. I don't have any more of this. I think I used every piece of that I had, so I won't be able to repeat that, but I'm already repeating the red. I'm going to definitely be able to repeat the crosshatch that's up there at the top. I am going to use the same gold. I have the same art gallery diamond. I have the same of the art gallery Maureen Cracknell piece. I've got another piece of this very same, or maybe they're not exactly the same, very similar color of like almost a salmon pink Kona. This time I'm going to introduce this fun zigzag print that I've had a little piece of forever, and I'm going to use this nice little scrap of, I don't know what you would call this, some kind of orange texture print. So I'm going to work on putting those together, cutting them down and laying them out into a patchwork that works, and then I'll see how much of my background I've been able to fill up with those pieces, and then we'll go from there and see if we need to dig for anything else. So since I have this curved piece, I'm going to start there, and I know I need to have a curve up here, so that's wonderful and lovely that I can put it just like that. So I am going to go ahead and know that I want that piece there. Now I still need something else for my thumb section, and I would like it to be a big piece. So when I'm making mine, I try not to have any seams right in this area because it gets really, really bulky, and you have to cut that, and then you have to notch it so that the whole thing will bend around, and having an extra seam there does not work. So this is the only part I would say probably takes a decent amount of planning, is the top part of the mitt, just because we don't want to have a bunch of seams where we don't want a bunch of seams right, particularly right in that little crack. So I am going to have one maybe just to the side of that, but that's okay. I just really don't want it down in here. So I'm going to look for a piece that could go the whole way to the end of my panel now so that I don't have to deal with any additional seams. And ideally, I would like it to be a bit different than what I have. So I have two solids next to each other, which is fine, but I would now like to do some kind of a print. So I'm not sure what that looks like. Maybe it will be this. So I might cut a strip of the crosshatch and put up there. So I have a nice big piece that goes across, and then we'll start working our way down from that. So I'm just going to roughly measure what I have here, and it looks like if I do maybe 3 1/4 inches, it will definitely get me to that. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. And I'm not going to be super worrying about it because again, all of this is just scrap. I'm just going to cut the piece that I want, and I'm going to really technically lay that down. Yes, that will work. And then guess what? I don't need the top bit here, so I'm just going to cut it off well enough. Now I'm going to attach those together so I can work my way down. Okay, so now I have my top, and you can press or just finger press until you get more of your panel together. So right now I have my top section with my curve, and I'll just lay my pattern back on and make sure yes, everything is going to fit on there the way I wanted it to. So we're excellent. I'm going to come really close up here, but I think I'll catch it and it'll be fine. And so now I'm just going to work my way down the rest of the panel. And I'm going to reference my other one, but it doesn't have to match. And again, we really almost don't want it to. I did use the same print up here, probably just because I had another very large piece. And again, minding that little divot there that we have to cut for. But next I'm going to try these two pieces, and it looks like they might be slightly too short, but they're the right length to put together. I might see if I have a different length piece of that. No, it was the same. So what I might do instead is find just a small little piece that I would put in between these two or off to one side, and then I will just slide it down. Except I feel like this is getting way too many solid fabrics. So maybe I will come back to that. And on this row, I will do the floral and maybe a piece of this orange. So again, I'm going to measure roughly what piece I think will work there, just so I can have an idea of what I'm cutting. And I think I need to do 3 by 3 1/4. So that's what I'm going to trim for that one. And I am messy. I work pretty messy. But that's what, it's just, when I'm doing these scrap projects, that's just the way that it goes for me. You could plan more, and that's cool for you. But I just love to do the improvising and not really worrying too much about it. And that's my very squeaky garbage can. Okay, so I'm going to put those two together. Okay, for this row, I found this really neat green piece. It doesn't appear in anything else, but I like it. And there's that same color there, but I actually have enough to go the whole way across. Obviously, it needs straightened up, but I might put that in this next layer down. So I still need a little piece that will go in here. So I'm going to look for that. Okay, I have this pretty cool piece, another art gallery print, so I might go ahead and pop that in between those two. And then my last row will be this floral. Oh, I wanted to get this in somewhere too. Maybe I'll do 2 more strips. So I'll need something else for down there. And then I think we'll be done. And there's how it will compare to the other side. So similar, but not the same. And we'll have a closer look at that at the end. So I'm going to just go ahead and assemble all of these. I'm going to trim this one straight and finish that out. And then we'll look for the last strip that can go down here. There's where I'm at. I'm just going to go iron some of these seams flat so I don't have all this building up bulk, and then I'm going to come back and put all of the pieces together. There's where we're at. I'm going to give it an iron. We'll lay it down on our background and see if we've got it large. Okay, it doesn't quite come the whole way down at the bottom, and that's not straight. So I am going to line up my ruler with my seam down here. I'm going to trim these off straight across, and then I am going to find one more like 2-inch piece of fabric that I could put the whole way across the bottom and finish this off. Okay, I found this lovely piece of old zigzag. The only rule for this project, other than having the insole bright and making sure that this shiny side is facing up to reflect that heat, is to only use cotton, because you would not want to have anything that would potentially melt, and cotton is less likely to do that if you touch something hot in the oven. I mean, you're not going to be holding stuff for like 10 minutes with these gloves, just like any oven mitt. But you want to not use something like a polyester, any leftovers of that nature, any synthetics that would potentially like melt or burn or catch fire or anything. So you want to only stick with your leftover quilting cottons. But this is a really great way to use up scraps, as I'm sure you can see here. So now this is the fun part where we have to not mess up and pay attention to what we're doing. But I filled up my entire piece of insole bright, my entire rectangle, with my patchwork. I'm going to catch just at that very tippity bottom, but that's fine. And I have to be careful up here, but I think I've got it. And I'm just going to make sure that when I put right sides together, yes, I will have a glove. Okay, so just make sure that you're doing a one side that's up and one side that's down, so that you have the correct facing pieces for your glove. And then I'm going to line it up here at the bottom and just put something on that can be a paperweight so it doesn't shift around. And then you're just going to cut out around your pattern. Now, Suzy Quilts pattern here has the seam allowance built right in, so that is super easy. And if you don't cut it into bits with your rotary cutter, then you will be ahead of the game. But it's nice and easy, and I don't think you have to be super duper precise. You just want to do, you know, like a good job. So I am just going through both layers of my fabric panel, my pieced panel, and my insole bright at the same time to maximize my trimming time here. But you could do them separately and then layer them if that works better for you. And now I'm going to use my scissors to cut up around this part, because I am not that skilled with my rotary cutter and I don't trust myself to not just chop everything to bits up here. But if you had one of those mini rotary cutters, that might be a good place to use it up here at the top. So I'm just going to double check that it's still lined up. I've got my paperweight down here to hold my pattern in place, or you could pin. Oh, I did do a bad. I did get a seam down there anyway. Oh well, such is life. Okay, now I have that all trimmed out, and I'm just going to run a couple of lines of quilting. You could do the quilting first, and that's probably what I did last time, but this time because I'm filming and I forgot about that. But I'm just going to go like down through and like across 2 times, just like well enough that it's tacked into place. So I think here I went down twice and across twice. So I'm just going to pick 2 different seam lines to follow, and then just, you know, the same on here. I probably came a 1/4 inch off from this one, and a 1/4 inch off from this, and then a 1/4 inch off from this line, and a 1/4 inch off from here. But any way that you want to quilt it, I don't think it needs a ton of quilting. It's just enough to hold it in place together, and to give it that quilted finish. So I'm just going to go ahead and run it through my machine a few times. Okay, and I didn't really follow anything. I just kind of eyeballed it there. But I have 2 that go up, sort of through each of the finger areas, and then just 2 that go across to help hold it in place. I'm going to throw a little label on it and sew them together, so right sides together. Before I go and sew them together, I am going to check. This one is a little bit shorter, so I am just going to trim to match that so that they are the same. So I'm just going to find where the bottom is of that fabric and then come straight across and trim off a little bit. Doesn't really matter if they're super, super precise, so I'm not going to stress on that. I'm just going to trim that little bit of extra off at the bottom so all of the fabric is patchwork the whole way down to the end now, and they're the same length. And then I'm going to clip them all together, and you sew all the way around. When you get here, you're going to come down a little bit past where the V is. So you'll need to come down past the V and then go straight across. Okay, and then that is going to allow us to nip really deep into that notch and notch it all out so that our fabric will have enough give to turn around those corners in the end. So we're going to come down through here, go across, staying a 1/4 inch away from the tip of that notch, and then going back up a 1/4 inch till we get down here to the opening. And then you leave all of this open. Obviously, that's where your hand will go in, and that's also how you're going to turn everything around. Oh, really quickly, before I forget, we need to create a hanging tab. So I just took a little scrap that I had trimmed off of my other piece, and that is approximately 1 3/4, but I would probably say go 2, and by about 5 inches long. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just something that you can create that little hanging loop off of. So I'm just going to stitch that closed. And I just ironed it in half and then ironed those halves in towards the center. So iron it in half to find center, then fold each side in to the center and press it so that it stays creased. And then all of your raw edges are neatly tucked inside. And then I'm just going to sew across the open side to make it closed, and then that will be my loop for hanging the oven mitt. Alrighty, so there we have it, and now we're just going to notch around there. And what I mean is, if you've never notched anything, we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut down here very close to where we have made a seam, and I'm going to cut very close down in here to where I've made that seam and over here, and that allows the fabric to have more give, right? So that it'll spread out around those curves, and then you're going to go the whole way like that, cutting very close to your seam without cutting into your stitches. That's very important. Do not cut into them.
And that allows your fabric to turn more easily around that curve because it can spread out. It's not as held into place, right? So that's what allows us to get the nice arch to our mitt. So we're just going to go all around the places that it would arch. There's no need to do it down the straight side, so once you come out the other side of this finger over here, you're all done. Okay, there is our mitt. And now we just need to make the liner. And that is just by doing the same, just using the same pattern. And we're going to lay right sides together, and then we'll just sew that around, and we'll have an interior and an exterior, and we're going to tuck them together and finish our mitt off. Okay, so now we are going to turn it so that our mitten is right side out. And then we are going to slide it down inside of our liner, which is this cool old vintage floral that I have that's in the same orange and yellow with a touch of aqua, which is perfect. It's coordinating again. It doesn't obviously exactly match, but it coordinates. And we are going to stuff it down inside the lining so that the right sides are together. So here's the right side of my lining and the right side of my mitt, and then I'm just going to line them up and sew around the top to connect them. And you just want to leave several inches so that you have enough to turn everything inside out again. So I'm going to match them up at the seams, make sure my tab is out of the way, my hanging tab, match it up at the seam and put a clip so that it stays lined up, and then come over to this other side and do the same thing. Put a clip. And then I'm going to kind of make sure that it's centered across here. So you can do that sort of by stretching it out. And put your clip. And then you can clip where you want to start and stop on this side. Just to remind yourself, like, oh, when I get here, I should leave that open. And I'm going to start about here and leave myself like, 3 inches or something to turn it so that you have enough room to get your hand down in there and pull everything around. And then we're just going to sew around, and then we'll turn it. Oh, forgot to notch this. Let me back up. Okay, and then once you have the liner totally stuffed down inside, so right side out, now we've just got to close this little flap. And I like to press mine with an iron and just make sure that I have it lined up right in line with the rest of my crease there, and then you're just going to stitch that closed with an 8-inch stitch. Okay. And then you're totally done. And it's an awesome little fun oven mitt, all made from your scrap bin. After finishing the pot holder and then the coordinating oven mitt, all with my Scrappy fabrics, I am going to take my set and create a little gift basket. So I think this is a lovely idea. These are just baskets from the thrift shop, or if you've saved some and collected them over the years. Also, if you plan ahead, You could possibly find some at yard sales for really inexpensive. I used a paper shredder to shred paper, but of course you can also get that at like a dollar store or big box store already shredded for you. And then I am going to create the gift basket. So I have my oven mitt, which I'm just going to nestle down in there, and I'm going to lean mine up on the handle there so it has a little support and can stand tall. Then I have my pot holder that coordinates. I'm just going to tuck that in as well. So I have like a nice sort of background setting. I grew loofah gourds in my garden this summer, so I have cleaned those out. You pull the skin off once they're dry, and you have this really cool cellular like structure in here of all the cellulose that's inside of the gourd. And then you have to kind of I used scissors, closed scissors, to poke all of the seeds that are inside out and shake them out. And once they're dry enough, that's not too hard to do. And then I soaked it in a bath of bleach to clean it and also brighten up the fibers. And I dried them, and then that will go in my basket as well as part of the gift. And then my friend, who is also an artist, is contributing some hand-stamped dish towels and a salt scrub to go in the basket as well. But since I don't have those yet, I'm just going to simulate that with some towels that I made. If you like to do embroidery and a little bit of applique stitching, this bayberry napkin, or this bay laurel napkin embroidery and applique how-to is part of the We Like Sewing. I believe it is the November issue, and you can go check that out. I'll try to link it below. And I wrote this pattern there. It's using some pre-purchased napkin bases, you can see. And then I illustrate and walk you through how to create the applique as well as the embroidery stitching on that to give it a very personalized look. And then we line the back of it so that it's really nice and finished. So that is a great tutorial that you could go check out if you wish. But something like that, maybe not in this particular color, but like I said, I'm working on that, could go in the basket. And then a little salt and a bow, and you're all done. And how adorable is that? So for a very, like I said, like using up scraps, this is homegrown. My friend is contributing a towel and then a sea salt, and in an adorable basket. All you have to do is maybe throw a bow on there as well, or you could sprinkle in some candies if you were making them for someone you knew their sweet tooth desire. You could add that in. Another version could be using this is a little tiny wagon that I have from, I think it was my mother's from a long time ago. This is adorable. And I just created the same bed. I have the radio flyer, and for this one I am going to put in my little garden greens version. So this one's got veggie patch, and it's a little bit French bistro inspired, and has this print of the butchering. It's got some mushrooms, a pheasant, and some berries. I think this one is adorable. Greens, combination of green and gray, a little navy blue, and then the coordinating pot holder has very similar colors. Again, that butcher shop print and florals and just some geometrics. So they coordinate, but they don't match because it's all just from the scraps, but they all have their own personality. So then this one can also be tucked in here. Of course, we're going to have to play a little bit harder with the configuration, but I think that would be so adorable tucked in. And then we've got our pot holder, and again you can tuck in the loofah, and then I would have room for the towel and a little salt, and then you can see how that also makes a really fun presentation for someone that is interested in their garden or maybe a little bit more whimsical. The retro radio flyer wagon, garden wagon theme, maybe allotment, all of that kind of thing. I would think of this would be that person on your list that you could gift for. So let's go over I will show the completed other baskets too. Again, I don't have all the materials today, so I'll try to catch a snippet of them from my sale. But I hope you found that inspirational, and keep sewing and make some lovely gifts for the holidays. Bye!